Hey, Rob, you look fat in those pants. Today on the Manspace.
Screw you, dillhole!
Welcome to the Manspace podcast. We're your hosts, Doctors Matt Brown and Rob Porter, and clinical therapist Mike Porter. Welcome, spacemen. Welcome, dillholes.
Oh, man.
There's some words that I feel like I'm sad we don't use that word very often anymore.
Like that one?
Dillhole.
Dillhole's one of them. Yeah, it's hilarious. I was just watching, as you guys might remember, I'm watching Scrubs, and at some point, JD he tells Turk that he needs to call his wife Carla Pickle, so that he can refer to his Turk's kid as Lil Gherkin. And so later, Turk's talking to Carla, and he's like, I mean, Pickle, can't we just do that? And you see JD give him a high five. He's like, I got you back, man. Little Gherkin. It's good times.
Well,
Yep.
there's
We had a
that.
good run. Mike had to get off Candy Crush.
Maybe.
Was it Candy Crush?
No.
What was it?
Viber?
New York. Were you posting the stuff on Viber?
No.
Did you win?
I haven't done it today.
I was annoyed.
What is Viber?
Viber's like a group me or a
It's our family's
WhatsApp
group chat.
Oh,
We have a side group chat for the people who play the New York Times games, like Wordle and Strands and Connections and whatever the other one is, the mini crossword.
yeah. What? I think my daughter is playing Strands.
That one's like a word search.
I like that one.
I have mixed feelings about that one. The one I have mixed feelings about the most is the Connections one. It'll have
Dude,
like
yesterday's pissed me off.
4 groups of 4 like words, and how do they connect? You're supposed to kind of figure out that like
What's the shared?
yeah, like these 4 words are famous people's names minus an S or something like that. And honestly,
That does sound dumb.
I'm the idiot in the group in my family. Everyone's like, "Oh, I got it," and this many, or sometimes it's like, "I didn't miss any." Mine's like, "I quit. I lost all the stuff. I got pissed and quit." I was like,
rage
just tell me
quit.
the answers. And yesterday's was like a bunch of symbols. I was like, stupid.
Yeah.
I knew one of them was right, but I was like, I don't know how to get there. I can't see it.
Yeah, the only one I got was the currency one.
Yeah, I got that one. That was the easy one.
Yeah, that was the only one I got. The rest of them.
Oh, you didn't get it either?
No. I came within, I was one away on the add to or something.
Yeah. I was one away on that too.
But
I was one away
could
on like
not-
3 of them.
Yeah, I could not figure out what it was. I was like, whatever.
We have
And it was
a
the same thing. I thought, this is dumb. These aren't even words.
We have a cousin who she actually listens, I think, fairly religiously to this podcast. She'll have to make little references.
Hi, Dana.
She's like too intelligent for her own good. It's always like, if I'm like, dude, I finished the crossword in 1:15. She's like, I finished it in 13 seconds.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
My fingers flew across the keys. I don't get it. Some people are smart, and then there's Rob. Wah, wah. I was just telling my son yesterday, 'cause I was like, he's waiting for his SAT scores to come back. They come back tomorrow, and he did the pre SAT, whatever,
Yeah.
and he got like a 1250 or something. And he's like, if it's below 12, then I'm just going to have to retake it. And he's like, but I think it could be this. He's like, it's hard to tell because it's one of those adaptive tests now. And I was like, well, dude, when I took it, I got a 1050. He's like, oh yeah. I was like, yeah, but I think they scored it differently. I looked it up. Still out of 1600. I was like, I gave him one of those like, look, man, I got a 1050. Look at me, I'm kick ass.
So who still uses it?
A lot of universities will take it if you've taken it. Like
It's optional, yeah, but
yeah.
nobody requires it anymore.
I think some probably do still, but like grad schools, some still require the GRE, some don't.
Yeah.
But I don't know who requires it.
Tests.
Like when Whitney applied to BYU, it was like you can give us your score if you want, but you don't have to. But are the schools, like when I was in high school, you had to go sign up to take it on a Saturday. But here the school, they get the whole day off to go take it.
No, I remember taking the ACT on a Saturday because
I did both.
This will make you feel maybe a little less dumb.
I also did bad on that one.
I did too. I can't even remember what I got. All I remember is hanging out super late Friday night, and it was like first thing in the morning Saturday, and I fell asleep through like half of it.
Now, see, here's the thing. That's funny, and I think, oh, okay, unless your score is the same as mine, and then I'm just like, well, crap.
I don't even. That one goes up to 34, right?
36.
36.
What was your score? Well, I have some nieces and nephews who got a 36.
I think I was like 24.
Yeah. See, you slept through half the testing, got the same score I got.
That's what. The first time
what does that say about me, dude?
I did the SAT and ACT backwards because at the time it was like on the ACT they said don't guess if you don't know the answer.
Yeah.
And on the SAT, do guess if you don't know the answer. I switched those.
Oh.
And so I never retook the SAT because I only took the SAT because Washington schools wanted the SAT. But like BYU wanted the ACT. And the ACT I got a 21. And then I retook it and I got a 24, I think, awake.
I was going to say, I only took it once. And probably the only difference between Matt's experience and mine is I didn't fall asleep when I took it. But like I'd been hanging out the night before, probably until about midnight.
Yeah.
And then had to be wherever the test was, somewhere in Seattle at like 8 a.m. the next morning.
Yeah.
And I never did a practice test. I never did any kind of studying for it. I walked in, took it, and left.
Me too. I just walked in and took it.
I remember the old scoring on the GRE. I got a 1270. I can't remember what the total is for that, but it was just verbal and math, right?
And then there was a written score, though.
Yeah,
it was like out of 6 or something like
5
that.
or something like that. But I
don't remember what I got.
I just remember when I studied for that, I just memorized so many words. I literally I guess it's probably 1600 for the GRE too, because I remember getting like almost an 800 on the verbal, and then like coming in just below average on the math.
Yep. The math was funny because with the GRE, I remember it was like geometry. I don't freaking remember, man. Like
right, old algebra and geometry.
Yeah, I was
stuff.
supposed to. I honestly was like, "What's the Pythagorean theorem?" I can't even remember that. But it's like it just feels like Malcolm Gladwell has that thing about the LSATs and how it's not actually really a measure of your intelligence or your success in school.
Yeah,
it's just a thing that tells you these people test well under a timed limit. And that's all it really
there was
tells
one
you.
professor that this is the framework I used when I was reviewing applications after that. It was like he just said, "It's a test of academic horsepower." And I was like, really? I think it's like how hard can you work when you really have to?
Yeah.
It's funny because I don't, on anything I've ever done, I always feel like I'm just solidly average. I found out the day I graduated when I got my final transcripts that I was like the exact middle of my graduating class. And I did the average score for the GRE in 2020, or not the GRE, for the SAT in 2023 was 1028. I was like, yep, solidly average.
Nice.
I think my GRE score was also like a 1060, but Scott Kettering at Auburn told me, as long as you get above a 900, that's all we're concerned about. Like,
yeah,
you just have to hit a bar. So I'm always just solidly average, which I'm like, it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
I'm doing fine. But it does make me think. This is a side note. I'm going to transition before we transition to our topic. But about how Rob looks fat in his pants. Oh, this all ties into it. Make fun of me for how dumb I am. But also,
it's not just your pants, Rob. It's also
you
your
look
shirts.
fat in your shirts. Looks like a little button there is hanging on for dear life. I was going to go to some other transition point for that, but I don't remember. So here's what I'm going to say about this.
You were talking about,
well,
I don't remember.
Here's what we were talking. My wife and I were talking last night about, I have a number of clients and, or other people I've known who have AI'd their way through courses.
Mm-hmm.
Where like I've known somebody where it was like they would plug in, write me an essay in Spanish on this.
Yeah.
And then they would get it back. Cause I have a friend who's a professor of Spanish, and he would translate some of the papers he'd get that clearly had been written by ChatGPT.
Like they don't even go back in and edit.
They don't go and check it. They just turn it in, and it goes off into weird things about how I'm writing this as a ChatGPT, but they don't recognize that.
Soy ChatGPT.
So the person I knew, they would take it out, and once they got the essay back, they would translate it back into English, correct anything that would look weird, and then plug that back into a thing and said, just translate this straight over into Spanish, but include, like 8 grammatical errors and make it look like it was written by a beginner.
Mm-hmm.
And then they'll take that and they'll plug it into AI detectors to make sure it won't be detected.
Wow.
And it was like, dude, there is no point anymore, the way things are going, with a grading system. It means nothing. Like I was telling my wife, when you go the only way to know, it used to be the interviews for like being a student, a master's program. It was like, we're going to see the fit. You've clearly got the grades, but now let's see if you would be a fit for our faculty.
Yeah.
But now the interviews will have to be like, we want to know if you'll be a fit, but also we have to see if you cheated your way through undergrad. Like we'll have to ask you some technical questions to see if you're just full of crap.
Yeah. Or do like a writing on the spot.
Yeah. Like something that would show, that shows like you can't cheat your way through this. My daughter was applying for scholarships in this app we have. It's like, do you want AI to write your responses for you? It's like, dude, there's like no point anymore. It's just kind of depressing. Like, although my son and I, he's like, it's not going to be a thing. I was like, well, it'll always be a thing, but it'll just be kind of incorporated now into what we do. It won't be like all this talk of like, and soon we'll all be out of a job. I'm like, probably not.
Yeah. I just read something that was saying that
think we will be.
Basically the average accuracy is still like 80%.
Yeah.
And for most people, it's like, that's too big of a risk.
Right.
Like I'm not going to, and who knows how accurate it'll get.
Well, it just takes, I think it takes more work. Like it's the 80% enough to get you started.
Yeah.
And if you put in the extra work,
definitely makes you better at certain things, but you got to do the extra.
Well, and this is what's interesting is the person I knew who cheated their way through Spanish class, there was still an oral exam at the end, but they got such high grades on all their papers that they would then just claim, like, I get super anxious and everything just shuts down, so I'll just take a 0 on my oral exam. And so they'd still pass the class.
But never.
But so in theory, there's the oral exam to make sure you actually know what you're doing. They just found ways around it because we also have this over-reliance on our mental health, which is like, I feel anxious. Well, then we can't ask you to do this, can we? Although she didn't say, can you give me a good grade? Anyway, she said, just give me a 0. She knew her grades were high enough that she could still get a 0.
Yeah.
It's a little depressing. But anyway.
You should try and work into your Spanish essay. Soy loco por los cornballs.
The corn... Was it the cornballer? Is that what it's called?
It's a cornballer. Then Lucille comes in. Everybody's cornholing.
I love that machine that burns everybody. Ay, soy loco. Such a funny show. Well, I guess we should get into it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Who's going to get targeted?
Who's going to get made fun of first?
Just start with the guy in the middle.
The easy target. Right in the middle. I don't know how you show up on the actual video, though.
I don't either. I don't even know if I'm in the middle for you guys.
You are in the middle for me.
Well, I guess we'll just preface it with a reel, but also several articles apparently talking about some study that we didn't find.
I actually, No, actually, I never found the actual study. I found two things that they cited. One was written by somebody who was citing a study, but I couldn't link to the study, but that was the New York Times, so I trust it. And the other one was a Psychology Today professor talking about here's where teasing isn't what you think it is. So there is a reel that are we going to play it, or we're just going to
we'll just say, I mean, roughly speaking, it's like people that regularly, good-heartedly roast their friends are more loyal and have deeper bonds with those friends. So we were talking about it in the context
300% more.
300%. But that's neither here nor there.
Here's what's interesting is some of these articles that will reference it. This one's from theswaddle.com. And I'm like, this is a little misleading. Research shows we all should absolutely, relentlessly roast our friends.
That's what she read. That was literally the quote that she read on that.
I was like, no, that's not what it's saying.
Yeah.
And then it says, disparagement humor, the fancy term for sick burns, act as a social lubricant, putting people at ease around each other. It's like, it depends on how it's done.
And yeah, but we were talking about it in the context of why men rib each other, trash talk each other.
Well, so, like, I guess to me, that's what I'm
the
curious.
Idiot in the middle is going to talk.
How
there?
This went sideways in a hurry. No, I'm curious how accurate you think that is. The statement that
I think it's
like ignoring her. I think she overstates the language.
I think it's dumb as a general rule.
You think what?
I think it's dumb as a general rule. But I do think that there is like if you think of male friendship, I think it is important to be able to poke fun at each other and trash talk each other and rib each other. And I think that is there's like a specific purpose to it. But I also think like that same behavior can happen when you're clearly trying to like isolate a dude. But I think we know the difference, if that makes sense. Like, when it's happening.
That when you're like,
you can tell when it's like, okay,
this is going too far.
Like we're poking and poking and poking, and there's no way for that guy to get his head above water now, and we kind of don't care.
Yeah,
that versus like, hey, well, and I'll share a story with this too. I remember in Scouts. Did you guys remember Doorknob?
No.
The game Doorknob. Basically, like, if you fart and don't say vent, and someone else says doorknob before you say vent, then everybody gets to beat on you until you can touch a doorknob. But when you're camping, there are no doorknobs. It's like the outhouse, maybe the car. So you're like clawing your way towards a doorknob while everybody's just like beating on you. So,
that's like wall ball.
Yeah.
When if you don't get the wall before the ball, everyone gets to throw at you.
Yeah, and then it always hits you in the back of the head as you're running to the wall anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I remember our scoutmaster was like, because there were like kids in our troop that just, I guess, weren't super quick at getting the vent out. So like some people were getting targeted, I think. And he's like, why doesn't anybody get mad? And I'm like, because I freaking say vent. They're like, but it was kind of clear, like, everybody's like, well, we kind of probably wait a little bit longer after Matt's farts. And, like, no one really said it. But this scoutmaster, we were like in a lake. He's like, why doesn't anybody get mad? Everybody's like, because he says vent first. And then he's like, oh, yeah? He, like, dunks me underwater and literally, like, holds me underwater for, like, almost a minute. Totally get sued nowadays, but I was kind of scared down there, dude. I'm like, I'm not getting up. I'm going to drown down here. This is it. But I think in that situation, that was probably one of those where it's like, okay, guys, like, you need to reset the order here. Like, you're targeting people, and it's not fun anymore.
But that's what I think is interesting is there's a difference between like anybody I'm friends with, I will make fun of at some point, and I anticipate they'll make fun of me. Like Mike and I just had a brothers weekend where we went and saw RX Bandits, It was delightful.
So good.
Sorry,
Sorry,
your chest.
I have to interject here.
Show the merch.
It's backwards.
I almost wore my shirt today.
I didn't wear mine in case you were going to wear yours. I didn't want to be wearing
that
the
was
exact
actually
same
why
shirt.
I didn't wear mine because I
Mike's
didn't want to be
the
the
RX
idiot
cable
wearing
knit bandit.
Cable knit.
Have you do you listen to them, Matt? Have you
Yeah.
heard them?
Yeah.
They got a new album coming out probably next year.
Are you not a fan?
No,
Or
I
are you
am.
just kind of
I mean, I
indifferent?
haven't listened to them
You gotta
a ton, but I was very impressed.
Yeah.
Not what I thought.
Because
After-
at one point as we were at the show, I thought Matt would probably really enjoy watching these guys
Oh, they're so good.
do
live.
what they do.
Yeah. Well, and knowing the way that they record and stuff too, that's super
They're
impressive.
Freaking
I'll go
insane.
ahead and-
Okay, sorry.
I'll
I
just-
digress. Rob, back to you.
I'll just say that this episode is brought to you by RX Bandits, and then I'm gonna send this to them and see if they'll
Yeah,
give
why
us
didn't
some-
you say something in the Q&A?
Oh,
I got a podcast.
we should have done that.
can
You
you
guys
be
want
on
to
our
come on my podcast? Just come play guitar and let me watch. Dude, it is incredible. Anyway, it doesn't matter. So, what was I saying?
anyway. Long fingers.
It was funny. In this
Brothers Weekend.
at this weekend, the four of us, it was like I know I walk a fine line sometimes I'll go too far. I never want to make anybody actually feel bad because I feel like make fun of me too, like but I know that like we were playing this game called Super Bomberman, which Matt didn't really remember or know, but it's a super old game. He's like
Old NES.
It's like you just throw bombs
so
at each
rad.
other.
Yeah.
It's so hilarious.
It's so dumb.
We played for hours. And at some point, this has happened twice now with two different brothers. Once, I guess it was me telling the joke that made Mike pass out at my house a long time ago.
Laughing so hard. And
He laughed so hard he passed out on his wife. And then
I think I slid into a chair.
You did, but your wife was there, I think, sitting next to you. But the other time on this last weekend, my brother Paul, he started laughing so hard, and all of a sudden he kind of fell over onto me, and I thought he was just really
I thought he was totally just laying his head on your shoulder.
But then later he's like, dude, what happened there? I was like, oh, he's like, I think I passed out. I was like, is that why you just laid on me forever? Like, it was weird. But like one of the things in Bomberman, I don't know why, it was just my favorite. When you die, you get a kind of
they call it a revenge cart.
A revenge cart on the outside, and you can throw bombs in at the people still playing. And I would just target Mike. I would hound him like a freaking mosquito.
Yeah, it was
just
great.
chucking things at him, and he'd be like, "Dude, why do you keep following only me?" And so periodically, I'd be like, "Hey, Mike, why do you always follow me?" And it's that kind of teasing that's like, I feel like, it's not the whole group was doing it. Not everyone jumped in and said, "Yeah, Mike." The whole time I was like, "Hey guys, Mike's out. Everyone go get Mike." Or I'd be like, "Well, I'm dead, so I need to go make sure Mike gets killed." Or it's like, it's just kind of, now for all I know, Mike's gonna be like, "I went home and cried that night." Although I know he's
looking out the window.
I know. Don't show your tears. But
I could talk about it.
That I think that kind of thing when it's in a small group and it's given back and forth is one thing, but when the group gets larger, especially when you're not good friends, there's the potential of like, well, who's the coolest guy in the group? So obviously at your scout troop, you were the coolest guy, so no one's going to call
until I
Matt.
got dunked for 30 seconds.
And then there's always the weak guy, and that's the guy who's going to get hit.
Yeah,
and that's why your leader's like, dude, they're targeting that guy.
Yeah,
and they're waiting for him to fart so that they can all beat the crap out of him. And that's to me, that's different. That's where it tips into like, that's not cool. And I used to have a hard time, like, especially if it's not somebody you're good friends with, because I think there's a lot of trust and we'll talk about this in a second. One of these articles talks about this, but there's a lot of trust in letting somebody like make fun of you and knowing you still like me anyway.
Yeah.
But when they don't know that, like I remember in junior high and high school, if I saw somebody being made fun of, I think I've talked about this before, but I would jump in. Like I remember there's this one guy, Paul Noble, and his mom was very overweight. And this dude was like, dude, your mom is so fat. And he's like, dude, shut up. Like, cause his mom was very overweight.
Yeah.
And so I chimed in and said, do you know whose mom is fat? Mine. She's huge. And they're like, oh yeah. And they started going off. And I was like, and then I started making fun of myself so fast that they couldn't keep up with my jokes, and my jokes were funnier. So then it just took the heat off of Paul.
Yeah.
Because I don't want that kind of I don't want someone feeling like a turd.
Yeah.
I believe in the idea of teasing, like, let's be friends and expose our weaknesses in front of each other. And it's okay. That's one of the things that comes from this Psychology Today article, is he talks about there is a kind of teasing that shows a form of expression of acceptance.
Yeah.
Of like saying, it's okay. Like, we all recognize that you're bad at this, but that's fine. It's just the idea of when it goes too far and we're using an excuse to beat a guy up because he farted.
Well, and can you laugh at yourself? That's another sign too, right? Where it's like, okay, this is a mutual thing. If I'm poking at you and you suck at something and you're laughing with us, and then it's like, now that thing isn't awkward anymore. You don't have to pretend to be good at it. Like, we all know you're not good, and it's okay. We still like you.
Right.
Yeah.
That's the part. I think that's the most valuable. And this is kind of like what we've talked about in previous episodes, where we talk about how, women don't understand men, where we don't sit down and talk with each other about our feelings very often. I don't think it's that we never do, but I also think it's also that we don't do it in the same way they do.
Yeah.
So that looks to them like, you guys are cold, heartless. You just punch each other and don't talk about stuff. And it's like, we have our ways of talking about stuff. But I think I'm more likely to try to make a joke out of something to alleviate pressure. And so if I can do it through teasing, but most of the time, honestly, I will, I don't usually, I feel like, because one of the other things this article talks about is it promotes humility. And I do believe in self-deprecating humor. I like to make myself look like an idiot a ton. Or I think people just view this as straight arrogance, but I like to make fun of the fact that I'm arrogant. I don't. Well, I think in the terms of the way I see arrogance, I'm actually very insecure, which means my arrogance comes out to pretend that I'm not. But I like to make fun of how I like to draw attention to myself, because I think it's funny to make fun of me.
Yeah. So that
other people can feel. And I've been in rooms before where it feels like everyone knows we can make fun of Rob and then it's cool. We'll all be laughing and Rob's cool with it. And I think, yeah, if I can be that guy for you, cool. I'm cool with it. Go ahead and make fun of me. Anyway, now I've lost track.
I guess we're using first and last name for this kid. Hopefully he doesn't listen. Paul Noble story. Just reminded me.
Hope he does listen. He's freaking awesome.
Have you watched any of his name's Brooks Gibbs, but he does
his name
bullying stuff. But it's kind of the same principle where it's basically just give the bully what he or she wants, which is just power over you in the moment, where it's yep, I do suck at that, right? I am the worst at that. And it's kind of it just dies out.
Yeah. Because then it's oh.
Yeah. He's got a card game that we bought that's called, what is it called?
Card game make fun of.
Pretty much. It's it gives a little prompt, you are trying to get people to laugh at me by saying blank, right? So then have I think it's called scuffles or something.
Called the bully
but
game?
It's come up with your comeback to that, which is basically yeah, you can laugh at me, right? It's kind of weird. It's I'll let you have the illusion that you have power over me by showing you that you're not affecting me.
That's what I would try to do. I felt like I could do it better. I knew I was funnier than they were.
Yeah.
So it felt okay, I can do what you're doing about me, but I'll do it better than you will, which will take the heat off of me and put it back on you, because everyone will recognize I'm funnier than you are.
And you've got to keep up. And
you won't be able to keep up. And so, and then it felt like you won't come back to do this again, because it felt humiliating to you.
Yeah.
So that wasn't good.
So doorknob.
You had to.
If you call doorknob before the person who farted says vent, then you can beat on them until they touch a doorknob.
Was the rule as soon as the fart ended? Like when did they open up for who gets to call it next?
Yeah, it couldn't be like one of those. Have you seen those videos of high school kids trying to cover their farts with a cough?
Oh, I love that, dude. But now I'm like, these are all doing it on purpose. But there was a kid who I'm sure tried to do it and it didn't work. But
it couldn't be like vent and then you fart. You had to say fart and vent. Yeah.
But is it like, because like today I had a very, very long fart. Like I was like, holy cow, this is just going.
You'd have to wait till it was done before you could say doorknob. You can start beating on somebody mid.
That's so funny. I would just not play it, just hold my farts.
Well, it's hard to on a week-long camp out, but where you're just eating camping food. Side note, that scoutmaster that held me underwater, he went to the latrine and came right back and started cutting up like watermelon. Like was handling the watermelon a lot. And then he's like, hey guys, I got some fresh watermelon. And we're like, yeah, we're good.
You got something else fresh, you creep.
Why isn't anybody eating the watermelon? Wash your hands, go back in the lake or something.
Dude, camping is so gross if you really think about it. Disgusting. Anyway, so are we all done talking about making fun of people? That's it.
Well, I think we got into the situations where it's not good.
Well, that's
now maybe where it's been bonding. So, like something where you're amongst friends because everybody can kind of poke at each other and no one takes themselves too seriously. And how, kind of like you're saying from that article, like what are the benefits of being able to know that about yourself and the people you're with? Like we can poke at each other. I think it's like a bit of a precursor to like, if I really had to call you out on something, I know you could handle it.
Yeah.
And if all we've had is just, a really like rigid way of communicating before that, then I don't even know I don't know what you can handle. And I think other articles we were like thumbing through a second ago are talking about like, if somebody's going to go do something difficult, it can be kind of like a loving way to prepare them for some of the difficult emotions and obstacles they're going to face.
That's where I think part of what, even that idea of like, I can call you out on something when I need to, because we've already established this. I think that's valuable in terms of, and then this idea of like, if I, like, for example, my kid getting ready to go to college and being able to kind of make fun of the situations that she'll be in, like to make jokes around it so that it's like, don't take this stuff
the anxiety out of it.
Don't take it too seriously. There's humor in this. And I think we've talked before about humor. I think humor really allows your brain to relax and look at things in different ways. And so I don't think I've ever thought of it that way, that because I tease you, I can also then tell you, hey, but seriously, this is an issue. Because there's trust in, like, it's just interesting to think about how much trust gets built when you allow someone to tease you and they love you anyway. And because it's actually made it, like in my relationship with my wife, it's made it easier to acknowledge my own stupidity. And not in a defensive way, but like, because I know it's okay and I can make fun of myself and we can all laugh at like, yeah, that's something I'm bad at.
Yeah.
And it makes it easier for me to work on something. Like I have this issue of, it happens with the four of us, my brothers, Mike and I, and our brothers. It's like, we have to be right. And for years now, because of my wife, I've been working on that. Like, I don't want to be right, but I can make fun of myself now when I catch myself in this moment of like, I'm right about this. And it makes it easier to work on it. Cause it's like, yeah, we all know. That's one of the other things that they talk about with this is you're putting something out in the open that should be targeted. Like like, hey, that's not good. We can tease it this way.
Like something that you should be.
Yeah. Maybe it's something I should do. I should be doing better at this. And so it's a way of calling it out by saying like, okay, yeah, I need to work on that, but it's not, I'm not an idiot because I'm not doing that. Or I think it's funny. I was just wondering myself, I don't have, most men I know. Oh, that's interesting. Sorry, I was just thinking through like
I thought you were getting insights from the dartboard.
the dartboard's telling me something. Speak to me. No, I was just thinking it's interesting that the men that I don't jab at least a little bit, those relationships aren't as close to me. Like there has to be some degree. I don't know what it is. I don't know why it is that somebody I'd make fun of, because I never want to actually hurt somebody's feelings. And so I just think there's that huge amount of trust. So that's, anyway, I'm just thinking out loud about how interesting it is that when I look at relationships where it's like, hey, I can tell I have some relationships like we haven't pushed to the next level yet. And it's partly because I don't know if I can tease you or you can tease me. We don't do it. And so it doesn't feel as close or bonded to me.
Mm-hmm.
Huh.
Mike in the middle.
You just called him out. He's like, what? Oh, crap.
No.
I wasn't even listening.
No, it's like the thing that's curious to me, because I do think, like, I remember having conversations with Cole when he was in middle school, because kids would come in and tease him. And I was like, dude, that's what dudes do. Like, what they're doing is they're trying to see how you're going to react to the teasing. Because if you laugh and tease back, and I said, then they'll think, okay, we can be friends with this guy. It said, if you don't, or if you like go tell the teacher, then they're just going to think, oh, this guy is terrible. Like, we can't trust him, because
Right.
like if we say anything wrong, he's going to go rat us out. So we
Right.
can't trust it. And I said, look, next time they tease you, and I said, just make some kind of response back about like, he's like, if they try to trip you or something, just be like, oh man, can't believe I can even walk with my size whatever feet. And I don't remember what I told him, but he did it, and the guys all laughed, and he goes, yeah, we're all kind of friends now. And I was like, yeah, man, that's the way dudes work. Like, whether it's right or not to me is irrelevant. It is what we do. And that's, I think that's part of my issue with the whole premise of this, of the reel that you found, Matt, is it's all very subjective.
Mm-hmm.
Like good-natured ribbing. Well, it might be good-natured to me, but it might not be to the guy hearing it. Like I was thinking about this on my ride back home. I don't even remember what made me think of it, but at one point I thought about, so there was this joke that went around my family for years, which we've probably talked about here. We were playing cards. I don't remember what we were playing. You, me, and Paul, and I don't know. We were in a hotel in San Diego. That's all I remember.
Yeah. Oh, this is
Yeah, this is the Doritos thing. And Rob had been eating Doritos, and Paul was getting mad because Rob's Doritos breath was terrible and stopped Doritos, and oh my gosh.
And I laughed and spit them across the table.
Yeah, which just made Paul, anyway, so Paul kept going, and at some point, Rob's crying.
Because Paul would not stop.
Yeah, and so I got really upset that Rob was being attacked over Doritos. And like he wasn't doing anything on purpose.
Mm-hmm.
He was just trying to enjoy his Doritos and play cards. And so I got really mad. And my guess is I probably told Paul or tried to get Paul to stop, but Paul just wouldn't stop. And so at one point I got really mad and I threw my cards down and I said, that's it, I'm out of here. And I got up and I went to go leave because I just wasn't going to be there while they sat and just, while Paul sat and like dismantled Rob. Like I was like, I'm out. Well, that became the family joke for years. And so anytime we would get together in a big group.
I'm out of here.
Oh.
Yeah. Anytime we'd get together in a big group and we'd be playing cards, at some point, someone would say, that's it, I'm out of here. And then everyone would laugh at Mike and how overreactive he was. And I never said anything for years. I mean, I was 13, 14 probably when that happened, Rob?
Maybe, yeah.
Like, I mean, 12 to 14 at the oldest. Is the oldest I would have been.
Yeah.
But so I mean, pretty young. And this was like
I got married, had kids, we're still at campouts, doing family campouts, and that's it, I'm out of here. My wife is at one point the only person who knows I hate this story. There was nothing good-natured in it for me. It was great. The rest of the family was a great, like, oh, that's so fun. Ah!
And the funny thing is they weren't even there for the actual?
No, Paul was, Mare and Jen were.
Yeah,
they were in the room with us.
Yeah.
Okay. But most people heard about it from Paul, probably.
Yeah, I mean, it was, like
we all told the story.
Yeah,
I would. I would quote. In fact, I found out that he didn't like it because one year I was writing. We did a family talent show at Christmas Eve, and so I was writing a song that had various family things in it, and one of the lines was "That's it, I'm out of here." And he goes, "Yeah, I've never really liked that." And I was like, "Huh?" So I took it out, but I was like, "I didn't know you didn't like that."
Yeah,
I don't know why he would. And it's also funny as a side note that it always got overlooked that the reason Mike stormed out was because I had.
That's what I was going to say.
I was being a super obnoxious turd, pissing all my siblings off. And at some point, Paul was coming at me because I was being annoying. And I started crying. No one's making fun of the fact that Rob's crying in the corner about eating his Doritos.
Yeah.
Everyone makes fun of Mike for standing up for me. Anyway.
So that was right. Like, as I was thinking on the way home, I thought, oh, that was the problem with that joke. It wasn't like I had done something that I too found funny. Like, it's not like the guy who trips and, like slips down the stairs and is laughing by the time they hit the bottom of the stairs. No, this was a moment where, in my 14-year-old brain, I was the only person in the room sticking up for my brother while he's crying over Doritos. And yet,
What's funny is in my memory too, as soon as it happened, when Mike stormed out, I sat up laughing because I thought what just happened was so funny.
Yeah, probably.
Well, there you go. It served its purpose, right?
See, I was the comic relief. But it was one of those where I thought, yeah, that was the difference. Like, they were choosing to have as their shared good-natured ribbing something that in the moment and at no moment since had I ever found funny.
Yeah.
And it like over the years, it became this thing where not only did I not find it funny, I was ashamed of it. I was ashamed that had been my reaction. Ashamed that I had apparently stuck up for Rob to my own detriment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Idiot.
And so I know, moron. And so it's one of those where that's kind of the hard thing about all of this to me is I agree. Like I have, as I've gotten older, turned more to self-deprecation as opposed to teasing people around me. Just because there was a time when I watched someone catch themselves and I said, what? And they go, well, I don't want to say it because you'll make fun of me. And I was like, oh, I don't ever want someone to feel like they can't speak freely around me because they're going to get made fun of for what they say. And so I started shifting to a much more self-deprecating humor because I thought, no, then I'm the one who can control it. And I'm with Rob. Like, I've walked into meetings. Like, I walked into a meeting and the guy leading the meeting, because I was a couple minutes late, was teasing me because my socks and my tie and, of all things, my Yeti were all the same shade of blue. And so he was just like, had to coordinate that, huh? Is that how come you were late? And I was just like, okay, so this is what we're doing now. But it was one of those things where I was like, I'm glad like it loosened up the room because, right, like I agree. Like, I think comedy or humor is a great way to kind of create an atmosphere of openness. Like, I think people are more willing to share when they're laughing. And so I didn't mind in that situation, but that's the thing. To me, it's such a fine line of knowing like, oh, so is this one of those things that, like, do I actually know how the other person feels about it?
Well, and that's what I think is interesting about these social media posts or even these articles that are designed for clickbait that don't really clarify certain things. Because, like, sure, good-natured ribbing or whatever among friends.
Well, and also this was a podcast that is specifically about
how to make fun of people.
How to
the good part of making fun of people or something like that.
Something, yeah.
But even that article I'm talking about that they, where they're pulling this from somewhere else, it's like, well, there's a difference. Like you have to assume that when I'm talking about this trust between friends, it's like, yeah, we make fun of each other, but we know each other really well, and we have called each other out on things, and I can speak up for myself.
Yeah.
Too many situations, it's not that way, and you're not reading the room to see like, hey, this person doesn't like this,
and we've stuck up for each other,
right?
Like one of the things that I know, even though like Paul and I in particular have had, our kind of back and forth and ups and downs over the years. But I know that if anybody like made the mistake of teasing me in front of Paul, even sometimes saying the exact same things he said, Paul would like bury them. Like he can do it, but don't think anyone else can. And so I know he's like, yeah, I know he'll stick up for me. When it matters, right. I know he's there. And so that means I'm a little more tolerant of like, yeah, that's part of how I know it's good-natured ribbing. Is no, I've watched him stick up for me too.
It's kind of like that classic, I get to beat on my brother and make fun of him, but you don't.
Yeah.
It's interesting. It's interesting too, like just that idea of knowing when and how to do this. And not even to say it's a deliberate thing. It's at least saying that, hey, I don't think I'd be suggesting, so go make fun of your friends. But actually it did make me think, oh, some of these guys that I know that I want to go a little further with, this is one of those ways to do it. I would actually, for me, knowing me, I'd start by the self-deprecating stuff to show that like, hey, look, make fun of me, but then let's banter back and forth. But you do have to be careful. Like, I really think this only works, and this is what's so misleading about these titles, is it only works when you really care about this other person and you genuinely don't want to hurt them.
Yeah.
When that happens, then it's like, then you can have a different kind of conversation. You can rib and jab because it's no big deal. And this is why it works for couples to make fun of each other and tease each other back and forth, is because
if they've got a really strong bond, but you definitely know when it's
right.
There's some truth to that.
You can tell. Yeah, you can hear in their tone sometimes the contempt in their tone, where it's like, that's not good. But I think that's I guess it's like lots of things. You can't just take, like the worry is, it seems like this was in enough places when I was trying to search it that enough people were citing this. Like, so just make fun of your friends all you want. It's like, you're going to become the jerk in the group. No one's going to want to hang out with you. It's very different to make fun of people hard than to just like tease something lightly.
Well, to me, there's almost a difference between teasing and making fun.
Yeah.
I don't know that I can necessarily put it into words, but making fun of someone,
laughing with versus laughing at.
Yeah, there's no malicious
making
intent.
fun of someone feels a lot more targeted.
Yeah.
And personal. Teasing is more like, yeah, you happened to be the person who said or did the stupid thing, but in 2 minutes it's going to be that guy over there.
Yeah.
And it just happened to be you this time.
And it's not like a targeted weakness area. Like I like to tease Matt a lot for being too attractive, even though
he's like, I was going to say his response right there, Matt, I don't think appreciates that particular teasing.
No, it doesn't bother me.
I don't think it really, because we don't go on it too much most of the time
anymore.
As he stares at me longingly.
Because Matt, your hair, have you seen your
hair? But it's also
your
the kind of thing
beard
where
is like perfect.
Where he's
Dude,
not.
It's so funny because I'm like way more jealous of your guys' beards.
Really?
Yeah.
I
think you guys have better beards than me.
You got a better upper lip. You got a better mustache going.
Yeah, your mustache is, I think, much better.
You know what my daughter said to me? So they frequently have like sleepovers where people crash out on our couch. And I was laying down on the couch the other day and I was like, dude, there's like a straight up BO pillow. Like one of your friends or somebody like dangled their armpit on this or something. I'm like, what am I smelling? And my daughter's like, I think you're smelling your mustache. Emphasis on the must.
Burn.
Yeah.
See, good-natured ribbing.
Yeah, I thought of her when I saw this clip because that's how she is with her friends. That's how she is with us. And I feel bad because I really think, like in a lot of ways, she's trying to like connect with us.
Mm.
And she just does it so much that sometimes it's too much. Like we've talked to her recently, like, hey, dude, the sarcasm's funny, but you're hitting like an all-time low with this, and it's just getting old. And so she's been trying to back it up a little bit, but yeah, it's like you try and share something funny with her. She's like, haha. Or like, good one. You just feel dumb. You're like, yeah, okay. I'm just gonna laugh at it by myself. She can cut you down quick, though. I won't. This is not the a comment for a mental health podcast, but I think in context, like we all laughed at it. But my middle daughter, you know how teenagers, like when they screw something up, it's like, oh, I want to kill myself, right?
Yeah.
So she says to her, like after my middle daughter says that, she's like, so I keep hearing all this kill myself talk. Where's the follow through?
You're all talk.
She just comes up with zingers like that all the time.
Freaking awesome.
Where's the follow through?
See, stuff like that is like that kind of stuff. I think it matters a lot too that if you're not the kind of person who can read somebody else's emotional responses, then you may not be the best person to start teasing.
Yeah, but I think that's a gauge, right? Like,
right.
But if you know to stop, then
if you absolutely,
I think some people double down, and then the whole group is like, "Dude, back off!" And you're like, "What, man?" You get all like defensive, and it's like, this isn't serving the purpose of connecting anybody,
right?
Yeah,
and that's what I've known people who it's like when they it's almost like they start to realize they've gone too far, but instead of pausing and saying, "Hey, sorry, that one was too far," they just it's like, well, I'll just push through to the other side. We'll dig a hole so deep we come out in China. And it's like, that's not going to happen, man. It's just going to get deeper. Like, and it's going to shut the room down. So I think it matters to, if you're willing to do this, you have to be willing to take it back. And like, you also will be jabbed, but also be willing to stop and say, hey, I'm sorry, that was too far. Because that's
humility on the
giver's side.
that person's part. Yeah.
Which I think it has to happen or it doesn't work.
Well, and I also think, like we come from a quick-witted family. That's part of why
most of all.
Sure. That's part of why they, right when you were going after the guy picking on Paul Noble.
Yeah.
Like, no, if their wit isn't quick enough,
he's awesome.
Then they're just not going to be able to keep up, right? That's the problem. Like their brain just doesn't move fast enough for that kind of thing. It's not to say they're not intelligent or whatever. Their brain just doesn't move that way. But to me, a lot of this just becomes, because one of the descriptions I saw about this podcast, I've had it podcast, was this idea of, I think they called it authentic trash talk. And so looking at that authentic thing, I think, no, if you're trying to like know your personality, don't do something like this just because you think, oh, this is how I'm going to connect. Like, if it's not your personality, then it's not your personality. Like, I think of Tyler, Tyler does not do this kind of thing.
Right.
Like, every once in a while he might, but he generally doesn't. Like, I can't remember the last time he made fun of somebody or teased somebody that I can think of. Maybe he does it and I just haven't noticed it, but I think, and I can think of other people where that's just not what their personality is. They just don't do it. And I think, okay, that's fine. There's other ways to connect with people. There's other ways to, to break down the barrier and make the connection. It doesn't have to be through teasing. And so that's the, like, don't try to force, like, if you want to learn how to do it, great. Then all the things we've been saying, like pay attention to, learning how to read the room and stuff like that. But if you think, no, that's just not me, okay, then don't do it.
Well, and it's interesting because I don't even think this is a skill you have to learn. I just think, I think sometimes it is like hey, if you're not good at this, don't do it.
Well, I was going to say,
I don't think it's like you need this to be loyal.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
But if you want it, you better make sure you know how to do it.
Yeah.
Because otherwise it is just going to be hurtful.
Well, as per usual, we've taken some inane, stupid, ill-informed information put on social media, and we've clarified it for all of Spaceverse. Because we're better than everybody else, although we don't have the same following. I was looking at the I've Had It podcast. I'm like, why does their website look so amazing? Why do they have all this merch? How do I get that going?
Yeah.
So, Spacemen, we need more donations. This is part of our NPR drive. Well,
become a subscriber.
We got to go to the drink store and play some darts. Dart champion.
I gotta eat some more chips, I guess.
This one's for typing. This one's for dot jumping.
So then come back next time and catch us on the Manspace. Mike said he has to go eat more after this.
Doritos.